recording. There we go. We're recording. So Howard, okay. Oh wait, internet.
Yes. Okay, I know. Shelby is like.
You need to sit in front of the light so she can see you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, now you can see me. That's much better.
I can see
Yes.
you. Okay.
Okay.
So, it just.
Shoot.
So Howard, how did it all start? Like right from the beginning, how long ago? How did you get involved in this hobby?
Okay, literally, I was in diapers. Okay? Alright, now if I have it right, I was more likely between 2.5 years of age. This took place in Taunton, Mass. I was at my aunt's house, and it so happens that both my mother and my grandmother was there that day, along with one of my mother's sisters, my Aunt Joan, I believe. Being in diapers, I was outside on a beautiful day. I believe it was probably in May. I remember it was pretty warm, May or June. In my diapers, I had a large serving spoon, and I'm digging in the soft, sandy soil in the immediate backyard, just not maybe 6 to 8 feet from outside the back door of the house. As I'm digging, and just out of curiosity, I happened to catch this pretty red stone. Now, of course, as a child, as young as I was, it wasn't just a smooth stone. You know, this wasn't just an ordinary rock. And I knew this. Now, of course, later in life, I had concluded that what I was looking at, realizing what it was some of the Czechoslovakian hand-cut stones that were imported to all of the jewelry manufacturers in the Providence, Taunton area during the Victorian era. I found a whole fistful of these beautiful hand-cut glass stones. These are imported. Now, my aunt happened to live at a house which was more likely one of the mill houses in the area. And some of the jewelry manufacturing took place right there in that city in Taunton. Okay? So you can be sure how they got outside and got buried. There were other little kids as young as I was who buried them 60 to 80 years ago. I, 80 years later, digging in the backyard right on that very spot and happened to dig them back up. I remember waddling up the stairs with a full diaper, no yet, with a fistful of those stones. And I walked up to my mother and I said, "Mom, look what I got." And I held out the stones, and I remember dropping one on the floor, and they chased after that. And I said, "Oh my, Joan, look at those. Those are pretty, you know." And I heard how excited they all were. And I'm thinking, wow, you know, this is really cool. You know, and I'm like, why is everybody so excited? You know, it's just, you know, they get it, you know, because I thought they were cool too, you know. That was the very infancy of my treasure hunting.
Wow.
Now, following that, I was probably between 5 or 6, I think. It was in the backyard in my hometown in Berkeley, Mass, which is another neighboring town just outside of Taunton. And there was always open ground underneath the apple tree in the backyard. And I realized later, you know, that there was a septic tank that was there. On occasion, it would overflow. With having the subsoils as loose as it often was because of the soil being so fertile, it would always be the first to freeze. And of course, the ground would freeze. It was always expanding and moving all the time. So on occasion, if there was something in the subsoil within a few inches, over a period of 2 or 3 years, the coins would get pushed right up to the surface. And of course, I mean, most diggers, who play in the dirt often know this anyway. Regardless, I happened to be out there, and I happened to see a round, flat disc of a coin laying on the subsurface of the ground. And when I first looked at it, I didn't see any immediate details. I just saw that it was a round, flat disc, and I thought I was just curious. So, of course, as young as I was, I picked it up and I started rubbing it with my fingers, and I happened to see the initial letters of USA. And I turned it over on the back, and I saw all of these other straight lines. Now, as a kid, I thought that was really cool. I thought, I don't know, maybe it's a button, and I was like, well, that's really cool. So I just stuffed it in my pocket. I'm just a little kid, what did I know? Years later, maybe I was 8, maybe 10 years old, and my grandfather had introduced me to the coin red book. And I'm flipping through the book, and I happened to see the coin to realize this was an extremely rare minted coin called the N.E.V.A.R cent. And the last one that sold at Sotheby's in 1972, 73, sold for over $10,500. Now, what happened to that coin, I have no idea. My mother probably picked it up when she was doing laundry, doing my clothes and laundry, and she probably just threw it into a jar with all the rest of the pennies and changes she had, having no idea where it went.
Unbelievable. And that was that was at 5 or 6 years old. You found your first old coin just on the surface.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course I didn't realize its value until years later,
See, you started finding history so early. That's unbelievable.
To be honest, I believe a lot of the more experienced treasure hunters who have much more than 15 or 20 years or more, they can say the same thing. It probably had been so long, that they just don't remember anyhow,
One thing I've noticed, a lot of common things, is that it pretty much does start from childhood, very early on in childhood. It seems that everybody's story, it all seems to, there was something during childhood, something they found, or they were just always looking. And that's pretty neat.
I mean, I really believe, without a doubt, that as far as treasure hunting goes, and being just curious of, look at that old shed over there, I wonder what's in there, just the fact of being curious, and thinking, what's in there, or what's in the ground, or having to look in the ground to think, well, what the heck is that? Gee, I wonder. It's something that's primal. It had always been with us. Now, for some people, unfortunately, it slumbers. It goes to bed where, they may be just too distracted to everything else. Watching cartoons, playing video games. I could give you a list a mile long, but not necessarily to say that that's a bad thing. It's just, I happen to be one of the fortunate few that started real early.
So how old were you when you first got your metal detector, and how did you hear about metal detecting?
Okay, if I'm right, it was my brother George who came home from school one day, having purchased Treasure Found, one of the early editions of Treasure Found. And this was in 1974, 1975, okay? By 1975, by late of 75, early of 76, on the bicentennial year, my brother George and I saved our money to get a Radio Shack metal detector from Kmart. from Route 44 in Rainham, Mass. for $43.35 tax. I just remember how much it cost.
That's crazy. You know how much it costs, where you got it, and who you're with. It's like...
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
That's wild.
The bummer is, I should have known better, to have kept it. I don't even remember what happened to it after that. But we did step up to the plate. By 1982, 1983, I got the Garrett ADS-3 metal detector. And I got it from Larry Violette, who is still alive. I actually met him just last year or the year before at one of my exhibits that I had. He showed up unexpectedly. I had no idea that he was going to show up. And to top it off, he showed up with a gift. He gave me a postcard, 1905, of Dighton Rock Park. And he gave me that. He said, "Hey," I thought you'd appreciate this, And he gave it to me, and I'm like, "Whoa, Larry, that's awesome," So I hoot and hollered to everybody that was there at earshot to say, "This is the guy that sold me my first serious machine, Larry Violette." Yeah. Yeah.
And that was like 40 years ago, 41 years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
And you still remember who you purchased it from. You have a very good memory.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
A lot of memory, serves me well, but ask me what I had for breakfast this morning, I'd have to burn a brain cell. Dude, you'll hurt yourself. There are times when somebody can ask me the most fundamental question, okay, something that just took place just maybe a day or two ago. And I'll just stand there, just dumbfounded and wide-eyed, like, God, what the hell was it that I did yesterday? Damn it, I can't remember. That's what my name is. I'd have to think twice. If you ask me what happened 25 years ago, and I can take you right to the day that I found it, the coin, the year of the coin, and pinpoint right exactly where I found it, and I could probably tell you how deep it was 25 years ago.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's really awesome. So that was in 1940. Let's see. Now, tell me, what was... Let's see. What machine do you use today?
I use the Garrett AT Gold, both land and water. Smart.
A lot of people use that as a water machine mostly, right?
Well, yeah, mostly, yeah, But I use mine mostly on land, but I know that on one occasion will surface, haha. The fun. I will go underwater. There's a lot of tributary waters from streams to major rivers all in this area where I live. A lot of them, and they're shallow during the summer. Not more than maybe 3 or 4 feet deep.
Okay, so out of your whole entire life, what would you say that your favorite find is?
That's the topic. Okay, I'd say that one of the more significant finds that I've made that has historical provenance is a coin silver spoon commissioned for none other than Edmund Andrews, son of John Andrews, who was a veteran of the King Philip War here in the southern New England area during the mid-late 17th century. If you're familiar with the King Philip War, you know that took place between 1675 on through to 1676, if I had that right. What I found was a coin silver spoon that was commissioned for Edmund, his son. It's a baby spoon. and it's initialed with the maker by the name of Charles Whiting from Hartford, Connecticut, between 1742 and 1753. And the teething marks when he bit into the spoon is still there.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so now that was pretty much your favorite, most historical, significant find. Now how about a most memorable time? One of the most memorable...
Well, this one I really can't forget. The first time that I found a Morgan silver dollar. Okay, so this is what happened. I had my Garrett ADS-3, and I'm searching in a small park known in the small village of Assonet in the town of Freetown, Mass., which is just south of Taunton. Very small park. It was once the shipping port for Assonet Village, and years later, by the late 1830s, early 1840s, it got filled in and it was made into a park. Beautiful park right on the waterfront. Long story short, I happened to go there on a beautiful day in May or June, and I'm sweeping along not far from some of the stone posts right at the apex of the park. 1, 2, third maple tree down that was planted by the town. It was only about as big around as my arm at the time. Right at that tree, immediately to the right, heading north, about 10 feet from that tree, after having already recovered like 5 or 6 crushed Pepsi cans consecutively. Okay? I got another target that sounded just like it. And I'm thinking, oh, God. Oh, man. And I'm actually thinking of, like, a Barbara half dollar. How it could, come on. Bite your lip, open the ground. Right? No, I did. I got down on one knee. I opened up the ground, and a big plug about 8 or 10 inches in diameter. Because I knew it was going to be a big target. This sounded like a manhole cover. I opened up the ground, and I took out, the sod was a good 4.5 inches thick. All right, so that was 4.5 close to 5 inches. So I went down another 2 inches thinking, I got it, right? So I swung the coil over the dirt pile and over the sod, nothing. I'm like, oh, great, here we go. Swung the coil over the hole, and going crazy. I'm like, all right, I got to be done with this. Now, if it's a crushed Pepsi can, I'll find it in 2 minutes flat, right? So I took my trusty screwdriver and I started digging on the outside square corners in first, and I pushed up everything that was in there, just in case if it was a coin, I wouldn't do any damage to it. So just as I did that, I loosened it all up, and I didn't immediately see anything right away. So I said, okay, fine. So I took the screwdriver and I stuck it in the ground, and I took my hands and I scooped up all of that dirt by hand into a big heap pile right next to the hole. Swung the coil over the hole. Silence. Okay. Well, that's a good sign. My first thought was, wait a minute. That was a Pepsi can. I would have seen it. Definitely. You can't miss it. But if it wasn't a Pepsi can, what was it? So I swung the coil over the dirt. It sounded off. I knew just where it was. I took my hand and spread a fistful of dirt, pulled it right out. I swung the coil over the pile. Nothing. And I got my hand clutched into a tight clump of dirt like this. I'm thinking, okay. So I swung my hand over the coil and it went off again. And I opened up my hand and I broke that clump of dirt with my other middle finger. And I looked, and the first thing I saw was that flying eagle on the back of an 1884 Morgan silver dollar and N.E.V.A.R. Of course, I didn't know that right away, but I can immediately see the detailed feathers all in the breast of that eagle. And when I saw that, I knew this coin was going to grade at EF20, EF25, or better. Oh my God. You know what? I went literally blind. I don't even remember getting up and running all the way down the street, roughly about a half a mile away to the nearest payphone, so that I could call my brother on the phone. And I'm screaming over the phone to tell my brother what I found. He said, "You're kidding! Go back!" He said, "There's probably more." He said, "It might be a pocket spill, right?" He's freaking out. So we're talking about this over the phone like good 5 or 6 minutes. So finally it hit me on the head to realize, Howard, where's your machine? Yeah. I left a $350 machine laying out there in broad daylight in the middle of the park for about 10 minutes before I could get back.
Oh my God. You just leave it, just run and call and not even... Okay.
I ran all the way back here like a panting dog, you know, and to see my machine just sitting there and all the kids and all the husbands and wives all playing on the swing set like nothing's going on. You know, these are just humble townspeople. You know, no one wasn't thinking about stealing the bloody thing.
Yeah.
Lucky me. You know? I mean, if that happened like in New York or Central Park or something, that machine would have been gone. You know? But yeah, I left the $350+ machine out there in broad daylight.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love it. I love it. That's hilarious. I love it. So yeah, I found a 50-cent piece, but still no silver dollar. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we're just gonna have to fix that.
yeah. Just wait for the dollar. Yeah.
I know where to find them. Yeah, you know, you'll probably get one like in the schoolyard.
Yeah.
Or at a private residence.
Okay.
You know, like a wealthy family.
Yeah.
You know, had money during the 20s.
Okay.
During the 1920s, there was a lot of kids who, you know, who were like a pushover, you know, for, you know, always having change in their pocket, you know, because they knew they could always run down to the store after school every day. You know,
that's true.
They'll be the ones that have a Morgan silver dollar and lose it and play it in the snow.
You were on Brandon's movie, right?
Yes.
You were on Brandon's movie, right?
Yeah.
That's right. What?
Yeah, that was a good interview. I did that on my part. I actually found somebody who was really good with the camera and, you know, could do good camera work to do a good interview and everything. And that was Nick Hallenbach.
Okay.
Wow, you know, I just saw him just a few minutes ago, you know, asked me how I was doing and everything, you know, and said, "Look, he said, "Got any plans?" He said, "I'll hook you up." And I said, "Okay, this is cool." So, yeah, he was the one, you know, that helped me out with that, with all the camera work,
Nice.
You know, as far as what was said and whatnot. You know, I wrote that out entirely on my own.
Okay. Because we can also talk about basically your accomplishments throughout the years and what things that you've been involved in and where this hobby has led you to.
Wow, what has led me to? Actually, it's led me to a number of different paths, you know, and open doors. You know, getting on TV was one of them. You know, however, it's the seed that's yet to grow for my first book. Honorable Intentions is going to be the name of the book. And I'll be quite honest as to say that if someone were to ask me, "Howard, have you started writing your book yet?" And at first I'd be too quick to say in haste, "Well, no." And if they only knew, they could turn to say, "Yeah, you have. You've been writing it for years. It's it's all in your loose draft notes that you've been writing for the past 15 or 20 years. All of these different stories and different experiences, like some of the ones that I just mentioned, I've put all down on paper in detail and with emotion. See? I've actually written the book. It's just all in shambles in different draft notes. I have to lay it all out chronologically, in some chronological format, and write it in the smooth paragraph for paragraph, and write it all out, I already got all the material. I got it all there, It's just like a movie script, I just got random notes and stories and stuff. I just got to glue it all together. You want to excuse me for a minute? Just hold on. Oh, God.
Who is it?
Never mind. It's my sister.
Your sister?
Yeah.
Alright, she can leave a message.
Yeah, sorry. Unexpected phone call.
That's okay. So your future plans, you would like to release a book of all of your experiences. Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah. How the book is going to start out is a young lad who is easily labeled as a treasure hunter, but he ends up transforming into a passionate historian. Okay? But then there's another transformation that takes place even after that. Okay? But that's another book. Okay?
Now have a whole bookshelf.
That suspense, see? See, it's like being a good storyteller, As you're telling a story, you always leave, some unbalance of suspense, like you're walking on a thin rail, and if you're falling to the left or to the right, you're going to fall into the water, If I were to, explain this in a metaphorical perspective. Yeah, but the second book would be most interesting, I believe. I actually, with the best of intentions, I wanted to start a group of my own called N.E.V.A.R. Now, you may have already caught wind of that.
I heard of the name. I've seen the name flying around, and I remember somebody saying, I think N.E.V.A.R is no longer... I don't think it was you.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't think it was you. And then when I saw you mention N.E.V.A.R, I was like, well, what's N.E.V.A.R? I was like...
Okay.
So what is N.E.V.A.R?
Okay. There's, like me, N.E.V.A.R has, like, 3 different perspectives. It's 3-dimensional, if you will. Well, let's start with this. I have the card right here.
Nice.
Okay, I'm going to do a close-up. Okay, see the raven? Can you see the raven?
Yes.
Okay. You see what's over his eye? I don't know if you can make it out because the print's too small.
No.
Yeah, I know. I thought I'd just give it a try, but she could read the title of it.
I can only see up to here to you.
Right. Oh, okay, yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
I know. My head was cut off. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So what's above?
Yeah.
What's above the eye of the raven?
Over both of the eyes of the raven hangs on a chain over his head, much like a crown, is silver 3-cent pieces. Okay? Now, caption at just above the raven's head is the blind raven. Okay? He's blinded by both the silver 3-cent pieces. Okay? The raven represents me. You're looking at the blind raven. Okay? That's me. If you were to understand, most people who do understand me would know that if there was any animal spirit to be an iconic image of me and what I do and how I am,
It'd be the raven.
the raven would be it. Okay.
Okay.
Now, if you do your homework, you'll find out very much what you'll find that the characteristics of the raven is very much like I am.
I thought, if I recall, I'm just trying to remember. I thought the raven was a messenger.
Yes.
Messenger, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right. Okay. That's all right. Because I know you to know, I know you better to know that you'll do your homework and you'll come back later to tell me, Howard, did you know this or that? And I was like, yeah, okay, I know. Again, they're messengers. So if they're coming to bring a message, they're not participating in this tragedy. No, of course not.
No.
See?
So there to help.
Okay. So let me just tell you this. There's another caption that I have on the car. With courage, the unknown we dare explore.
Nice.
Okay? And, that has more than a double meaning.
I can imagine.
Yeah. Actually, I have a poem that I dedicated to the group that I originally had planned to start. Now, let me get to it and to say that there is an abbreviation for N.E.V.A.R. N.E.V.A.R. Stands for New England's Vocally Assisted Recoverist.
Okay.
All right. Now the key words are vocally assisted.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Oh,
got it.
Now you know better.
Got it.
You know.
Got it.
Say it. See, now, a lot of people would know better to know that I am a representative for those now unseen, who have been for 100 years or more since the very birth of this country. And being vocally assisted clearly means that I would show up with not only my metal detector to be guided in more circumstances than most others, okay, more likely than not, because you think about it, here's a perfect case scenario. You go to Stealth Dickens and you talk to Charlie. He was the one that got the video footage of me making that recovery of a 1721 Spanish silver pistarine. I had told everyone and that group that day, and I have 2 valid witnesses who validated this on camera while Charlie was recording it, that I called out the recovery of this coin 3.5 hours before we even got there. Okay? Now, this is old news to many people who do know me. I've done this repeatedly. I found that coin only 1 inch in diameter and a total of 60 acres of land on my ancestral grounds. Now, don't you think that the odds and probability of this to happen ever again, that one person out of 9 in a total of 60 acres to a coin that's only 1 inch in diameter, who happened to be the only one out of the 9 to have any ancestral heritage, to walk over that coin? What are the odds of that?
It's Pistarine.
Oh, God, it was more than one.
Me
I
too.
don't believe it. Oh, God. All right, hold on. Guys, somebody get this on camera.
Yeah, date, Greg? It's a 2 real, and the date is on the other side. 1721.
No way. Come on.
Remember earlier we were at that parsonage,
Yeah.
and you got a piece of string.
Yeah, I know.
And then you
I
said,
just pointed that out.
Then you said, what would it be like if I found a whole real to string it on? And what did you find?
Yes. Thank you for clarifying that, because that's
First thing I'm
exactly
going to do
what
when I get
just
out of
pointed
here, punch him right in the mouth.
Well, I almost punched you earlier.
That's okay, baby. I can take
I'm going to kiss.
Okay, so now you begin to understand why they call me the Blind Raven. And it's not a coincidence that I have on my video camera of the same footage, of the same event, and in the backdrop, if you listen carefully with the volume up, you can hear a raven cawing in the background just across the road. Now I'm going to dump this on you.
Okay.
Now you begin to understand another word that's one of my favorites, and one that I have often used all my life since the age of 7, in which you'll find another thing that's really interesting. 7 happens to be introduced and is woven in everything that I do. And now I just came to the realization that our original plans was 6 o'clock. And it was changed to 7. Okay? There you go. It just illustrated my point.
Well, my last episode, it just so happened to have been my 7th episode, and it turned out I had 7 women at 7 p.m.
Oh, well, I'd call that a big yes.
And it was really funny. 7th episode, and I'm like 7 women, like 7 p.m. I'm like, no way, 7, 7, 7. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay. So now clearly you begin to understand throughout this interview, since I started this conversation, why I should earn the title The Blind Raven. Okay. Now there's a lot more to this than you would ever think. Actually, I'd be afraid to give you most of the better incidents that have taken place because I'd say in some cases it may actually rattle your cage.
Not at all. Not at all.
So getting back to what I was just reading on the card, vocally assisted. Now, what that clearly means is for me to show up with the metal detector and the tape recorder, a small micro cassette recorder. However antiquated this may be, but this particular method in getting an EVP, which is known in the field of parapsychology as electronic voice phenomena. What happens is I will ask a question immediately after breaking the ground to make this recovery of an artifact, especially something that's impacted, which would be something like a ring, a personalized item, or a key. Ooh, especially a key. Keys hold secrets. Why do you think they call them keys? Because they lock things, hide them in secret. I would ask a question, and I have in my possession a number of EVPs. And some of them are quite clear. One of them of which I have a Class A EVP of a direct response to a key that just came out of the ground to hear a young girl by the name of Sarah Barber call out to her mother in response to say, Vicky. Okay? Now, what's scary is I have everything about what I just told you in historical context. I can go right down the street from that colonial site where the key was found and show you her gravesite, her grandfather's gravesite, Daniel, her father, Teth, her mother, Deliverance, and the other 4 brothers as well. But her mother, her youngest sister, who was only 6 months old, including a younger brother, James, I believe it was, or John, they all died. 4 of them died within less than 6 weeks on account of an outbreak of yellow fever in 1842. She, however, had lost the key when she was very young of age. This is why she responded to her mother to tell her, Mother, look, he found the key.
That is cool.
See, you can understand what you see what's going on. See, the key is impacted because you can bet $1 that she got heat for having lost that key. Well, here's the best part. I happened to find that same day the escutcheon key plate to the Bible box where that key went to. Okay? Now, no other important iconic furnishing there is throughout the entire house is what? The Bible box that has the family records, that has the family papers, including the family savings. Always. Those items would be found in the Bible box. Okay? So you can understand why this key was impacted as it was. So the emotional impression and the fact that she had lost that key in the snow of 1842 is what left that residual impacted on that key. So as soon as Bill had found it and walked out to the front of the house, she's looking through the window that once was to see Bill with the key. You know what I'm saying? See, the picture, can easily be painted with clarity here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so you record these, and what is it? A special recorder? It's not like a regular recorder.
It's like a tape recorder. It's nothing special.
So just one of like those little tape recorder things, and that's it.
Exactly. Yeah. You
kind of college students.
The same ones that college students had often used to give lectures during. Yes, to record and listen to the lectures that they heard in college. The same ones. Emerson. Little tiny cassette recorders. See, well, here's the kicker. See, now this is how easy it is for those unseen, okay, to manipulate these tapes because, well, for one, the residual energy of these, from those long ago in spirit, consists of electromagnetic energy. Okay, now we're talking about an electromagnetic tape.
Tape?
Yeah,
Oh.
That's what the cassette is made of. The tape is metallic. Okay? It consists of an electromagnetic tape. This is how this works. Those tiny cassettes. See? So if they consist of electromagnetic energy, how easy is it for them to manipulate what they have to say on the tape that's made out of metal, in part. You see? So, you can understand how this works, see? And why it works better to have it than rather a digital recorder, Now, the digital recorders can be effective. They do work, yes. But if there were a choice between those unseen, they would pick the cassette tapes that rather than digital. So this is how this works, okay? So that's what those very important words mean. Vocally assisted.
Vocally assisted for N.E.V.A.R.
Okay? Because what I try to understand, get people to understand, Lori, is when you go to these ancient colonial sites, it's like you're walking on a perfect pool of mercury. And the minute that you take something out of the ground, what's going to happen? It's going to send up those ripples. You see? So as soon as those ripples start to fade out into the distance, it goes to the ethers on the other side, per se. And something awakens. Whoever or whatever that is in the ground that has been impacted from and by the emotion from those long ago that's impacted, that's still intact in the ground in situ, the minute that you take that out of the ground, now they're awake with ears up. See what I'm saying? Now one of the things, one of the prime directives that I have still intact in my group is whenever you show up at these ancient sites, you arrive with three things within the sacred place between your heart and your mind. And it's a little tiny granular spark. It's only as big as a grain of sand, but the light of which is bright enough to blind you to submission to the ground. Okay? And that is that tiny divine spark that we all have within us. Okay? That's the throat of wisdom. Remember that. Okay? The throat of wisdom. That divine spark. Everybody has that. If and when you choose, you can escalate this and generate it to, really magnify this. But what I'm getting at is the three things that resides within that sacred space in which I'm speaking of is three things. You arrive at that site with empathy, integrity, and compassion for those who are still there.
Yes.
For those unseen. And this is how I come in, with my title. That's what I am. I am a representative for those unseen, for those who are shunned by modern society, who are so distracted with their iPhones and their computers and watching TV and, everything else, that streams through our social network and all, the media and the press as well. We're so derailed and being disconnected from nature itself and from those unseen, from our ancestors who are still screaming in our face of what guided wisdom that they have to tell us, of what we could learn from them. And we just carry on through life like, huh? What? No, I can't hear you. We just ramble on and just rape and pillage the ground, without thinking of keeping anything in historical context, But you arrive with a change of heart and one, understanding your story. That's the most important thing that may be to them. Is for you to understand what happened here. It wasn't me that killed my daughter. She was the one that fell down the well and the winter of 1816. It wasn't me, because that's what I'm hearing from the outside. Everyone is blaming me. They think that I was an abusive father, and that's not true. You know? So it's just for you to show up and validate the fact that it wasn't him that killed her.
Wow.
That you could validate the fact that she fell down inside the well because you found the ring. You know what I'm saying? You know, I mean, I just created a case scenario here, yes. Okay?
Yeah.
But I'm just, you know, this is the perfect case scenario, you know? And here you have this frustrated, irate old man who was falsely accused almost 200 years ago of the death of his daughter. See? But you and I show up, and he knows that there's a probability or a chance that we could clear his name.
That's right.
You understand what I'm saying here? You know, so when we show up at an ancient colonial site, this is going to happen. Okay?
Yes.
This is what N.E.V.A.R is all about.
So, are you going to create N.E.V.A.R, a group?
Yes. I'm starting new footing again.
Good.
Yeah. For whatever reason, it didn't get a deep root system, but that's okay. I'm sure that there's a reason for it.
My last question. Is there something that you have really wanted to find but has just eluded you?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Where is my half?
What was that? I'm sorry.
My bust $50 or even dime. I have yet to find a bust $10 quarter or dime. I'd be happy to have a bust dime, but if it's a quarter, I'd be in giggles. If it's a $50, I'd be ecstatic.
So you haven't found? Have you found a bust dime?
No.
So you haven't found any busts.
No.
So a bust coin.
I got everything else out of the sun except for a tree coin, of course, but that's one of the most iconic coins. But yeah, but most everything else, I got my bases covered. I got seeded dimes and Barbara dimes and Barbara $50 and Walking Liberty has, Franklin has. Yeah, I got all those. I got that. Got a lot of early relics as well. Yeah, I got my bases covered. But those coins, I don't know for what reason. I get the idea that I actually may stumble onto a cache. And if I won't just get the dime, the quarter. I'll get all of them in a bag.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm sure to get it on video, no doubt.
You have to. Howard, it's been absolutely wonderful to speak with you. And
Sure. All right.
I'll send you the link and I'll tag you on it. And
Awesome. That's great. Thank you, Lori.
thank you.
Okay.
It's been fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.